Mythic Odysseys of Theros is right around the corner, and with it comes the promise of new epic adventures, new classes, new races, all based on current mythology. And while we are still a month out from getting our hands on this much anticipated piece of new 5th edition material, we do not need to look too far to gain an insight on the type of content we could be seeing coming out with this book. So today we are going to be looking at what is probably my favorite piece of 5th edition supplemental material, the Odyssey of the Dragonlords. For those of you who aren't familiar, Odyssey of the Dragonlords was a 5th edition adventure book that was released as a Kickstarter project late last year. Now, I know what you're thinking right now, and yes, that does mean that this is considered homebrew. Now, wait, don't go anywhere, because all that means is you do not get to use this in Adventurers League, which isn't happening right now anyway. On top of that, this adventure book wasn't designed by just a kid with zero game development experience who happened to be on a power trip. This was created by the lead designer on Baldur's Gate 1, 2, Dragon Age, and Knights of the Old Republic. So you can rest assured that there is balance here. Now, I won't be covering everything found in the Dragonlords book in this video, as there is way too much information to go over. So in this video, I will instead be only looking at the races introduced, as there are some similarities shown in the preview to Mythic Odysseys of Theros. So I believe that we will be definitely seeing some parallels between these two adventure books. So let's start with the one race that we do know will definitely be included in the Mythic Odysseys of Theros book, the Satyr. Now, we do already have a Satyr race in the Dragonlords book called the Thilian Satyr, Thilia being the name of the campaign setting of Dragonlords. The Thilian Satyr comes with a bonus of +2 dexterity and +1 charisma. They live for several hundred years, and they can speak, read, and write Common and Sylvan. Plus, they get a nice little package of abilities such as having advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened and cannot be put to sleep. They have proficiency with one musical instrument of their choice, as well as advantage on performance checks made with said instrument. They can also memorize and perform any song after hearing it only once. Finally, the Thilian Satyr can cast the Minor Illusion cantrip, as well as cast Sleep at 3rd level and Suggestion at 5th level. They can only do this once per rest. Moving on to the first race that I believe is going to be a guaranteed playable race in Theros is a playable Centaur. Now, to go further into what this Centaur would probably be able to do in Theros, we can look to the Thilian Centaur in the Dragonlords book, which has the following. The Thilian Centaur gains a +2 strength and +1 wisdom bonus. It ages about the same rate as humans, and has a base walking speed of 40 feet, as well as the ability to speak, read, and write Common and Sylvan. Moving on to the ability package, the Centaur gets the charge ability, where when it moves 30 feet straight towards a target and then hits them with a melee attack in the same turn, the target takes an extra 1d6 damage from the first attack. The Thilian Centaur is also mountable. As a bonus action, you may allow a single willing ally within 5 feet of you to hitch a brief ride on your back. They are carried on your back until the end of your turn, at which point they must disembark within 5 feet of you. While being carried, the rider is not considered to be mounted, and they are not vulnerable to attacks of opportunity. Your rider must be a bipedal creature of your size or smaller. And finally, they gain the quadrupedal strike. Climbing or maneuvering tight spaces is considered difficult terrain for you. It seems to be a bit more of a disadvantage. For the final race, and this one is more on my wish list than something that will likely be added to Theros, but I would like to see a playable Medusa race. And not just a Medusa race, but any playable humanoid, typically NPC race. As with the others, there is a framework in Odyssey of the Dragonlords that could keep this type of playable race balanced, as well as leave the door open for this to actually be included in Theros. And I believe that the Thilian Medusa has some of the most unique, yet also balanced abilities of any 5th edition race. To start with the basics, the Thilian Medusa gets a dexterity score increased by 2 and intelligence score increased by 1. As for their age, Medusa aren't born, they're made. When a humanoid is infected by the curse of the Medusa, they gradually transform into a snake-haired monstrosity. Once transformed, they may live for 1,000 years, but most are hunted down and killed long before then. So you already have a potential backstory in your age. For their languages, they can speak, read, and write Common and one other language of your choice. They get dark vision and are afflicted by the curse of the Medusa. The curse of the Medusa can only be ended by the wish spell. If the curse ends, then your race changes to whichever you were before you became cursed, which is usually a human. For the abilities, things start to get serious. The Thelian Medusa gets the snake hair attack that allows you to attack with your snake hair. This is a melee weapon attack with an attack bonus equal to your proficiency plus your dex modifier, and it deals 1d6 piercing damage on a hit, and the target must make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or else they are poisoned until the beginning of your next turn. They also have Snake Blood, which gives them advantage on saving throws against spells and abilities that inflict the poison condition. And the last one, which is probably the coolest ability of any race in the game, the Petrifying Gaze. Starting at 5th level, you can use your action to force a creature within 30 feet that can see your eyes to make a DC 8 Constitution saving throw. On a failure, the creature is paralyzed until the end of its next turn. On your turn, you can use your bonus action to force the same creature to repeat the saving throw with disadvantage. Each time it fails, it is paralyzed until the end of its next turn. When a creature is paralyzed this way for the 3rd time in the span of 10 minutes, it is instantly petrified. Starting at 10th level, the DC for this saving throw increases to 10, at 15th level, the DC increases to 12, and at 20th level, the DC increases to 14. Now, I personally believe that D&D needs more of these types of single race-defining abilities. A single powerful effect with a very low DC that is super satisfying when it does work, that is tied to a certain race. And I think because this is already printed in this homebrew, there's a good chance we could see something similar in the Theros expansion. At least that's my hope anyway. So what is the takeaway from all of this? Well, I believe that because the framework for this type of mythological campaign setting already exists, it gives us some definite insight into what we can expect, or likely expect, in Mythic Odysseys of Theros when that comes to us on June 2nd. Now, of course, when that book does come out, I will be doing a full review, multi-part, just like I did with Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. However, there were a good amount of races in this Odyssey of the Dragonlords that I did miss, so if you do want me to review all of those, I can certainly do that. Let me know in the comments down below. However, the player's guide to Odyssey of the Dragonlords is free for anyone to get. I will put a link to that in the description down below. So if you want to get some ideas for a new character you want to play, perhaps. But yeah, I can do a review on everything contained within that player's handbook if you would like me to do so. I will also have a video of the top 5 or maybe 10 things that I would like to see in Odysseys of Theros, because that book looks to be something special. So if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave it a like, and until next time, happy gaming.